Um, wow. I'm going to start off with my name being Ashley. Of course, most of you guys already know that. Um, I'm not going to sit here and say I had a perfect life, but I know my life wasn't all hell either. But there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know, and that's why I'm like one of those people that I'm really big on don't judge a book by its cover, because you never know where people come from. Um, put it out there, I'm an original Illinois baby. I was born in West Chicago, Illinois, DuPage Hospital. Um, to kind of make the beginning a little bit less confusing, I'm gonna put it like this. I was born to a woman, and I don't really want to use names because it's my family and stuff, and they probably might not even really want me to be saying all this because I don't really got their permission. But anyway, I'm just going to put it out there anyway because this is my life and I'm trying to inspire people right now. But I was born to my mother or whatever, and I guess at the time in her life, it got to the point where I'm not sure what exactly was going on in her life. I really don't. But I was put in an adoption home as a baby. When my grandmother found out that I was in adoption home, she rushed to find out which one I was in, and then she went there, did all the paperwork, and she then became my foster parent. When you are getting adopted, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you always have to go through as a foster parent before you can originally officially adopt a child. So she went through all that and then had to go through the court process to make me officially hers as her child, which means new birth certificate, everything. I am officially this woman's child. So the one thing I could say by the grace of God that I was not adopted by a strange person or a stranger and then whatever. I was adopted in the family by my grandmother, who is now my mother, which makes my real mother my sister, which a lot of people get confused by it, but when you piece it together, because my real mother's grandmother adopted me, which would then make her my sister and not my mother no more. So, never knew who my dad was. Till this day, I still don't know who my real father is. I'm kind of getting used to the fact that I probably will never, ever, ever know, even though deep down inside I would still like to know. Just want to know what he looks like, really. I don't really care about him, but it's still nice to know, certain things that you'd like to know about yourself, especially medical histories. Anyway, back to the point. So I was adopted. My brother, my older brother, was also my real mother's son. He was adopted by my grandma too. So both of us were both adopted by our grandmothers, which makes her now our mother. I then got a new birth certificate, which says that this person was my mother, and my grandpa was my dad. So I was adopted like around my first birthday. That's what I was like told. I was adopted around my first birthday when I was 1 year old. Growing up, probably then was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me. I actually had a good life. I had a mom. I had a dad. We were really big on the family thing. Growing up, we always had family dinners every single night. Sit at the dinner table. You better eat all your vegetables. If you don't eat it, my mom's going to sit there until I'm done eating all my green beans or whatever. My mom worked at McDonald's. She worked at McDonald's for like 17 years. But my dad, he was a police officer in the Air Force, and he also worked for Commonwealth Edison, which he paid the bills. My mom made the vacation money so we can go on family vacations. Work together. Life was sweet, life was grand, everything's great, right? Well, I happened to have a neighbor who I used to play with his granddaughter. She used to be one of my friends. I had a lot of I had a couple good friends. Like, I had one of my best friends was probably Jessie Roars. She's out there. Hi. And then another one was Katie Swice. Two of like my best friends growing up. And there's like some neighborhood friends that, we'd all like play hide and go seek with and do this and do that and whatever. But then I had this neighbor. He was an older guy, which I'm friends with his granddaughter, of course. But he's like one of those kind of people. He's really cool. We're friends with all the kids in the neighborhood, this and the other. And, I just remember times where I would go over there and I got to sit on his lap on the lawnmower and drive the little lawnmower. And I used to get really interested in driving. Used to help him paint wood. And it got to a point where I guess he became a little too close, I would say. It got to the point where if I wanted something to drink, like a Mountain Dew, which I really don't even drink Mountain Dew anymore for these reasons, but if I wanted a drink, he would want a kiss. I remember, like, a lot of my story is so hard to put in a book because I don't remember a lot because they're traumatizing events, and if you know anything about therapy or whatever, people try hard to forget about traumatizing things that happen in their lives. So it's like iffy. That's why I'm trying to put it into a story form first with words, then in a book. It might help me. But I remember parts, like there was one time when me and the neighborhood kids, we went into the attic of his garage and we were all playing spin the bottle, we were all having fun, and when everybody left, I was up there cleaning up after everybody, and I remember him coming in there, and he decided to kind of get on top of me. Was kind of sticking his tongue down my throat. It was hard to breathe, and then I remember him trying to undo my pants, and that's when he started crying. And by the grace of God, I finally heard my mom yelling that it was dinner time. It's time to come in, get inside, children, kids, Ashley. So he then stopped and then was like, I'm sorry. And I got up, wiped off my tears, and left. Like nothing happened. There was another time where me and my two best friends went over there to clean his house. And we were cleaning his house, got into the bedroom, and then he like set us in on the bedroom, was like, cool, cool, cool. And he wanted to play like this kissing game with us, with all of us. And there's another time, my friend remembers it more than I do. I guess that was probably one of the worst times. When we was in the basement by the pool table, and he was like trying to take my shirt off or whatever, and I just remember we all three of us went running outside the house and we went home. We never told nobody. I mean, it's something that is hard to talk about when you're younger because you don't know. But yeah. I also remember, like, besides that, being a kid, dealing with a neighbor that, fondling slash molesting me. Besides that, I had a pretty okay life. School was good. I was like an average student. I had a lot of friends. I remember these three boys that lived up the street. I think one of them was like my first French kiss ever. But one of the brothers, we used to play hide and go seek, and he always wanted to hide with me. He was the older one. He was like my brother's age, just like 2 years older than me, and he always wanted to hide with me. And I remember hiding behind this shed one time, and he's like, "I have to go pee," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I turn around, like a little kid, and I'm just like this, and he grabs my hand when I'm not looking and puts it on his thing, and I tried to move my hand, and he would grab it harder. And when I finally got it loose, I took off running to home where the safety base was when you play hide and go seek when you're little, and stayed there. And I don't think I've ever played hide and go seek with them ever again after that. There was another time when I went over to my friend Heather's house. This is like all happening between 6 and 8 and 9. Another time I went to go see if my friend Heather was home. She lived like right behind the block. And I was walking home, and these 3 Mexican guys were like, "Oh, hi, da 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 da, you want to come in and play some games, blah blah." And I normally tell you not to talk to strangers, but they were kids too. Well, I mean, they weren't that much older than me, I didn't think. So I'm like, okay. So I go over there, they had like this dartboard and pool table, whatever, in their basement. And, at that age, I had a curfew. So I'm like, I can only be here for a little bit. I have to go home. I gotta eat dinner. Blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, they didn't speak that very good English. Anyway, so I'm like, oh my god. I didn't speak any English. And living in West Chicago, it was kind of scary. Because my curfew was before the light streets. Once those light streets comes on outside, you're inside. And if I was a minute late, my ass would get the belt. My dad was a discipliner. So I always made sure I was home on time. Let alone we had the GDs living on this side, and then we had Black Kings living on this side. So it was like a gang war back then between, my neighbor's yard. They had a pitchfork on their damn tree. So my mom was always scared. Well, it was about that time I had to go. So I'm like, I have to go now. And they wouldn't let me leave at all. Like, they were keeping me captive in this house. And I was getting scared for a moment. Like, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble. You guys, I got to go. I got to go. One of the dudes wanted to push up against me and, like, trying to follow me. And I'm, like, petrified now because I'm inside this house. I don't even know these people. They speak very little English. And I have to be home. It's dinner time. My mom's probably, like, freaking out. Well, it got down to the point where you hear sirens. And after a while, I guess, they went and looked outside, and the police were driving by. They waited till the police were gone, and they let me go. And because they're this block, I'm this block. So I ran through all the houses to get to my house, which was right over here. When I get home, my mom's talking to the police on the front porch, about to do a missing child's report because I wasn't home on time. My mom was crying. She was devastated because she didn't know where I was. This is not like me. I never told her what happened because the first thing that happened when I walked up on the porch, I got smacked. And she's all like, "Don't you ever do that to me again. Do you know what you just put me through? Blah, blah, blah." So I started crying. And I never told my mom what happened. Ever since that situation, I ended up becoming a very shy girl. That was around the same time that in school they're telling you don't talk to strangers, this, that, and the other, don't take candy from strangers, especially if someone's coming up telling you, I lost my dog, can you help me find my dog? So that was like around that time. I remember walking home from school one time, met my backpack, I was walking past my babysitter's house, and this car wanted to pull over, not really pulled over, you kind of stopped in the middle of the street. It was a blue pickup truck, and the dudes all like did the whole famous "I lost my dog" thing. You want to help me find my dog? I was like in shock because I just learned this in school, and I'm just sitting there like staring at him like I couldn't say nothing. I didn't even move. I didn't even run. I didn't run until he just kept looking at me like, "You can help me? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And I'm just like, and I was like devastated, shocked, like, oh my god. And he took off slowly, and that's when I ran home. I went running home. I told my mom. I was like, "Mom, this guy, da 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 da." So she called the police. We had the truck reported. I couldn't really give a description of the guy because I was just in so much shock. I was like, I don't know. I just know it was a blue pickup truck. That's all I know. And yeah, it was kind of rough, you know. Um, yeah, yeah. I became very, very shy. I became a very paranoid little girl. I was like, I don't know why people always want to do this kind of stuff to me. What did I do? Um, it was real hectic. Um, but besides those bad parts, life was good. I had a family. I had a mom that loves me. I have a dad that loves me. We used to go family vacations, went to Disney World, been to England, got to do all those kind of things. My real mother, she still was around. She came over and all that kind of stuff. But every time I would go over to her apartment and stuff, it was never nice. It was like a whole nother side that I wasn't used to. Like when I'm with my mom and my dad, everything's peaceful and great. Me and my brother would go over there for like a weekend, just, family thing. Let's go hang out with my sister. Um, she was in a relationship with this dude, and it was just always fighting. Just fighting, 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 a lot of drinking, fighting. Um, and I just remember one time they were fighting, me and my little brother, because she has a younger son too, which she never gave him up for adoption. She kept him. So we would all be over there. I remember us going upstairs to the apartment building, and we're standing outside the door, and all we hear is arguing, yelling, rah, rah, rah. And all of a sudden you hear glass breaking. So we ran back downstairs to, like, my little brother's uncle's or whatever, his apartment. And we ran there, we sat there for a minute until it was, like, okay to go back upstairs. And that night I remember cutting my foot on glass from when they broke the glass table and stuff. And then got to that point where slowly stopped going over there. There was a lot of parts where she would just come and go in our lives. Like she was there, then she wasn't there, she was there, she wasn't there. But to me, I didn't care. I believe at that age, I didn't even really know that she was my real mother at that time. I just thought she was my sister. So, I remember the day that I remember the day that they told me that, I was adopted. I took it very well. I didn't even care because I'm like, okay, this is my mom. This is who's raising me. I love her. I didn't even care. I remember kids try to like throw it in my face when I was little, like, oh, you're adopted. Da, da, da. And I would just be like, so? I don't care. I know. Tell me something I don't know. Um, yeah, it was like kind of crazy. Life didn't really take that really bad turn until I was 10, between 9 and 10. And my dad went for this hospital visit, and I remember going in to see him after he got done with this little surgery thing. And I remember him laying in the bed, seeing my dad laying there with all these IVs and stuff all in him. And I got scared. I've never seen my dad like that before. I've never been in a hospital before. Um, well, I've been in a hospital before, but not on those terms. Um, it was pretty scary. I didn't know what was going on at that time. I just know a lot of people were crying. Um, when it came down to it, found out that My dad had this surgery to check his pancreas to see if he had cancer. And I guess they told my mom that, this could be a good surgery, this could be a bad surgery. Because once air hits the pancreas, when they open my dad up to check, it spreads. Like, and that's when we found out that my dad was diagnosed with pancreas cancer. And that's when life took that turn for a whole nother chapter.